Hi, welcome to my channel. Before we start, I'm an author and I am a coach. I offer Zoom coaching and I offer email coaching. I'm going to have two separate pages on my website at some point because I offer law of attraction coaching, so manifesting coaching, and also mindset coaching, and they're kind of the same thing. They can work together, but they can also work separately. So depending on what you want, pop along to my website, have a look and ask me a question, send me an email if you're not sure, you don't want to book up online, and we'll have a little chat first. Okay, your perception of something. So we're looking at changing an assumption. So it's very difficult to change an assumption because an assumption is something that we naturally have. We don't even know that we assume certain things about things necessarily until we go to react to something, then we realise what our assumption is. So can you change an assumption? Yes, you can change an assumption, but a far quicker way of doing it, because I could change an assumption by noticing what that assumption was, thinking, oh, I don't like that, I want to change it to this. But back in the day, I couldn't have done that because I had to get to this point that I'm at now to totally get that this is what's going on here, to be able to do that. So a much better way for you to shift your internal state, so you to change yourself energetically, because we are energetic, we are vibrational beings, and we produce a frequency that goes out there, and then whatever that frequency is comes back to us in the 3D reality. So how can you do that quicker? How can you see shifts? How can you feel an internal shift and feel better on any particular subject in order to start shifting that reality? But don't keep looking for the results. Okay, so the best way to do this, and this is how I started doing this, is changing your perception of whatever story you have put on something. Nothing has a meaning until you attach a meaning to it. You attach a meaning to it, and then that situation has its own unique vibration. So internally, when you think about this situation, when you feel it, you are vibrating the meaning that you have put on it. I really hope that makes sense. But that's what you're doing. So energetically, you are that version of events. So you look at what's going on at the moment, your situation, you think, how can I throw a slightly different spin on it? How can I change my perception of this? So just for an example, when everybody used to say that my impulsive nature would talk about it as if it was a negative, I felt that it was a negative thing. But I look at that now and I think that's not negative, that's hugely positive. It's brought me this, it's brought me that. So I see my impulsive nature as a very positive aspect of my personality, because I used to see it as a negative. So I'd have a whole different feeling around it. And when I would leap into something, I think, oh, that was a really big mistake. And maybe things wouldn't work out because I would tell myself that I shouldn't have leapt in. But now I love to leap in and I think, well, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Okay, I'll move on to the next thing. Have a whole different feeling around what impulsive means to me now. So what does this situation mean to you? Let's say that somebody is ghosting you at the moment. Somebody has stopped communicating with you, and you can say they've moved on. They're probably seeing somebody else. They don't care. Well, you could say they cannot handle their feelings at the moment. They've pulled away because they don't know what the hell to do with these feelings that they're having for me. They can't cope with it. They don't like feeling vulnerable, something like that. Perfectly rational, actually, and perfectly possible. So if you believe that something is possible, then your subconscious gets that and it takes that and it thinks this is a possible scenario. But if you make up a wild and crazy story, which I could now, but I couldn't back in the day, your rational mind will tell your subconscious that this is not true. So it's not that you can't make up wild and crazy stories, because I can do that and I can believe that this could happen, because I totally am on board with anything is possible. But if your rational mind is instructing unknowingly to you, it's instructing your subconscious, actually this isn't true. But if you go for a perception change, what you do is you change the meaning that you've given something, it changes. So energetically, you change. So internally, you are slightly different, and maybe it is just slightly, but those slight perception changes have the ability to change your reality really dramatically. And I know that because I've done that. I felt a slight change, I thought, oh my God, then something else has happened. And then I've got more and more on board with that. And I've been able to tell myself crazier stories really now. I don't too much do that. I do quite like the perception change thing still, because I think, what meaning have I put on that? If something is not showing up in my life as I want, or if it's something starts showing up and I don't like it, I think, what is the meaning I've given to this situation? Oh, well, I can see why it's like this. Okay, obvious. How can I change that? and I will look at how I can change my perception to such a degree that it's not huge, but it's enough to make me feel slightly differently. And when I feel slightly differently, my reality shows to me either slightly differently or hugely differently. That slight change has the ability to make huge leaps for you, or for reality to make huge leaps for you. Really, honestly, you would think like, oh, that's not enough, but there's never not enough. It's better than it was before. If it's better than it was before and it's different than it was before, then it has to show differently to you. It has to. But if you do it and you're still feeling the opposite, so you're going, oh, so you're just saying the words, because I do get people that say this doesn't work. It does work. There's nothing doesn't work about it. The only way it doesn't work as such is if you do that, but you're forcing it and really you're still feeling the other. You're trying to talk yourself into something, but you still keep going back to the actual meaning, the first meaning that you've put on it, not the actual meaning. There's no actual meaning to anything. There's no actual real meaning. There's only the meaning that we place. So you go back to that. So you're feeling that still. So energetically, you are still that old version of events. That's when you don't see changes, because you haven't really done it. You've done it a bit, you've done it half-hearted, and you haven't stuck to it. And there is a kind of a case of sticking to it. Maybe you have to keep going back to that new perception for a week or 2 weeks maybe. But you might find you have an instant shift internally. I can do that. I can have an instant shift, or I can not have such an instant shift. But I know that if I stick to that new version of events, and I know instinctively that the meaning I've given to it has given me a particular energy which has to show to me, and I change the meaning, then it has to show to me differently. At some point, it's going to show to me differently. You'll have a bit of that old residual stuff still showing for a bit. Or you might not. It depends how, you know what, it depends, doesn't it? We're all different. And how do we know why something shows up quicker to some people than others? Really, it's really based on how they are energetically. And you cannot describe your energy to somebody else, can you? You could say, I feel like this or I feel like that, but I don't know how that feels to you and how that will feel to me differently, because it might do, it probably does. But if you change your perception, you will change your reality. Okay, that's it. I don't want to stuff this up. This is like the third time I've done this. I've got the sun's coming in wrong, and I've bought this weighted hula hoop because I was talking to my friend about it. I went out with my friend for breakfast last week, and we were talking about exercise and how boring it can be sometimes and how you got to do it. And anyway, she was saying that she just bought a weighted hula hoop. So I thought, oh, weighted hula hoop. But I used to love hula hooping. I used to be really obsessed with being able to do as many spins. I can't do it at all now, by the way. It came today and it was huge, absolutely ridiculously big. And I thought, what? I've got a really tiny waist. How the hell am I going to do that? Jeremy decided to have a go first. And I didn't know I hadn't clipped one of the clips together properly, and he was not doing it very well, but literally it flew off, one of the bits flew off, flew across the room, hit my cup of coffee over, and it was a full cup of coffee, hit it all over me, head to toe, in my hair looked different than this earlier on, it was dripping off my hair, it was in my face, it was all over the wall, it was all over my clothes, I was absolutely soaked. And he said, well, this is a load of rubbish, you've got to send this back. And I said, it's clearly not that, I've put it together wrong, haven't I? So I'm soaked in coffee, so I felt really irritable, because I just got ready and I knew that I wanted to shoot this video. So I had to think, okay, I've reacted, this is how I feel. I need to change that, I need to rein it in, because if I carry on feeling like this, one thing will go wrong after another thing after another thing. So I had to take a deep breath and think, doesn't matter, sort yourself out. So I was blasting my clothes with the hairdryer because I didn't want to get changed. So I just had, again, it's your reaction. You will have reactions about things, but it's your reaction to the reaction. So I'm going to have a practice of my weighted hula hoop now. I just wanted to do something more interesting, like, because I do get bored of exercise, but I do want to do it. So I thought, no, this is going to be fun. So I've read lots of reviews and they've said you get be really bruised for a while because it's really difficult. So let's see, that's my afternoon planned anyway. Okay, so have a lovely, I don't know when this will go out. So whatever you're doing, make it a great one. Day, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is, I hope it's a good one. And I really hope that this was useful. Thank you for watching.